Hi there again, this is Paranormal Investigation Stories number 16. In this one we'll be returning to RAF Holmpton over two investigations. The first investigation was held, again there'd probably be 20 people there. I believe Peter Jenkinson was there, Ellie Fleming was there, Angelina Hamill was there, Willow Griffith Scott was there, myself obviously. We were greeted at the RAF base by James Fox once again, the Brigadier, and by this time James knew most of us and gave us pretty much free rein to roam wherever we wanted within the bunker. Sadly, in this investigation it became a battle of two egos. To be fair, I personally had taken a step back and I was just there hopefully to enjoy the night and to do just some investigating. But sadly we had two people. Angelina Hamill was one of them, from Angelina's World, and also a witch known as Willow, Willow the Witch, Willow Griffith Scott. And these two, well, let's just say they were never wrong, even when they were. It kind of took the edge off the investigation because with their presence it was more or less impossible for people to enjoy themselves, to have a look round without hassle, to pick up on something themselves only to be told by the mediums, no, that's not possible, that's not right. You know, when in reality spirit will show itself to different people at different times and in different forms. Not everybody will see the same thing. I worked with Angelina for about 18 months. We toured all over the UK. And to be fair, many times her mediumship was without question. She was really good and she did get amazing amounts of information and had knowledge that you simply could not guess. However, on saying that, she was not always right. She wouldn't admit that to herself, to anybody, but she wasn't always right. She did have areas where she didn't know, and that's all I'm going to say. Willow, on the other hand, she just basically made a nuisance of herself in so many ways. Giving readings to the people who were there trying to investigate. She even told one lad there that he was gay, a closet gay, which wasn't true at all. And at one point she vanished and she went up to see James Fox, the Brigadier, and apparently she'd given him a reading from his mother. Which, to be fair, again, James said that he did appreciate the words that Willow had given him. But again, as I say, it was just those two egos that spoilt the night. We went round, down the long corridor again that leads into the bunkers, through the rubber doors and into that vastness. As I've said before, possibly the size of a large supermarket on each floor. and way beyond that, in the areas where the public were not allowed to visit. And it is rumoured that there are tunnels that go from there directly into the coast at Withensea. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. I'm sure the local people will. Anyhow, we were setting cameras up, leaving them running, and didn't really pick anything up other than a few bangs, the sound of perhaps doors shutting when there was nobody else around. We went into the bomb room, where neither of these mediums picked up anything in the bomb room, despite that being the only part of the building other than the comms room where someone had actually died. We went up to the comms room and we all sat in silence for quite a while. And again there was somebody there that night who had the voice whisper in the ear, "Please help me." And this came through again, and Angelina kind of confirmed that she felt that it was someone who had choked, as we had found in a previous investigation, that someone had actually died in there during a chemical weapons exercise. There was another lad there that night, I don't remember his name, but he was kind of linked to Angelina's daughter Sammy, and he was a former military fireman. And later on how or where he got the information from, I don't know. But he managed to uncover what had been covered up by the military for 50 years about this chap actually dying. There were quite a few interesting little incidents in that evening. As I say, the Ouija board, we did one of those again in the canteen area. And the Ouija board spelt out certain names. Again, without confirmation, we had no idea who these people were. And dates and times. And obviously, as I say, out of 14,000 people who had worked within that bunker, there had only been the one death in all those years. So nobody else had actually passed away within the walls. And as I said before, some of the equipment that is in the exhibits are actually from RAF bases throughout the United Kingdom, and they do have spirit attached to them. Anyway, as I say, I'm not going to go into great depth with this particular investigation because, as I say, it ended up just being a battle of two egos, and it kind of really put a damper on the night for everyone else. Because as you know, it's not easy being with someone who is constantly right, even when they're wrong. But that's enough of my whinging about that. And now I'm going to go on to the last investigation that I was involved with at RAF Holmpton. And I was involved in that one with a friend called Ben Hardcastle. If memory serves me correctly, it was his 25th birthday. And we had decided to go and investigate the bunker alone. Just the two of us. So after driving out there, we again spoke with James, and James did a little talk for us on tape about the history of the building, the reason it was built, etc, etc. And he left us to it again. This was 9 o'clock in the evening, and he said, "I will be back at 4 in the morning to let you out again." So we built up a relationship and a trust with James, and he knew that he could leave us within the building without any problems. Ben and I walked down the corridor, excitedly looking forward to what the night may bring. We had originally planned to do one floor each for half of the night and then swap over. But on arrival we had changed our minds and we said that some of the equipment that we had needed 2 people, the Ouija board needed 2 people, etc, etc. So we decided to wander around alone. We went into the first aid building, which by this time had actually changed. It had changed from one part of the bunker into another, the hospital area. In the original hospital area, if you remember, Ben actually passed out under the oppression of spirit, clean out. Well, this time it was fine, there was nothing. There was no real signs of anything in there. We didn't really pick anything up at all. And from there we went to the bomb room. And again we took some photographs, and within the pictures were several orbs. Again, which, as I've said to you before, you know, they're all in the balance. Whether they are sentient energy, moisture, insects, camera refraction, etc. We spent a short time in there and we set up the Ouija board closely, oddly enough, on top of the nuclear warhead box, which was next to the generator or motor where the guy had died. The guy who'd been lifted by the hoist, as mentioned before. And while we were in there, the Ouija did move. It informed us that, yes, there were spirit with us. Are you male? Yes, it was male. What year did you pass away? And it spelt out, I think, if I remember rightly, and if I'm wrong, Ben, please feel free to contact me. I think it said 1945, 46, something like that. We asked if he died in the building and it said yes. And then it just seemed to evaporate into the ether. We were getting nothing more from it. So from there we went on to the canteen area. We tried a little bit of work with the pendulum in there for some yes or no answers. And again we asked, are there any spirits present? And on ascertaining which way the pendulum would move for truth or untruth, we discovered that there were other spirits within the building. And if I remember rightly, the pendulum said at least four people who had worked there in the past. The spirits were within the walls of that. As I say, it was a huge place, absolutely huge. Then we had a go with some dowsing rods. I find dowsing rods quite easy to use, and I find them a really good way of discovering if there's any spiritual activity in the room, because as you know, they will cross or they will open up. If there's nothing there, they will open, and if a spirit is there, they will cross. And this happened quite a lot. And in various areas of the room there would be nothing, and in other areas they would cross quite readily. We left that part of the room and we went then into the theatre, again with snapping pictures, lots of orbs again. We set another night vision camera up there, left it on a tripod, pointing down the corridor. Ben and I then walked through the door, as can be seen on the footage, and we returned upstairs. When we went upstairs, we went into the communications room again, the one which I've mentioned before with the huge map of the world in a pit, where the toy aeroplanes, if you like, were moved to show the position they were at any point of day and night. either our own aeroplanes or the enemy's. And it was really, really interesting in there. There was quite a warm atmosphere. And after turning the light off and sitting there in the dark for a while, both Ben and I were instantly aware of the new orb. The orb that I mentioned yesterday, which moves around the room. The one James Fox had told us that through investigations happening, this orb had now become a feature of the building. And again, Ben and I spoke out, asked if there was anyone there, and we believe that this orb, in our own minds, is the sentient energy of the guy who died in there during the chemical weapons test, the one that had been covered up for many years. So we left it at that. We went down into the pit and we had the torches on and we had the Ouija board again. And we spoke out again, asked, is there anybody here? And if so, can you please move the planchette? We asked if there were any spirits present. The planchette moved to yes. We asked if it was male or female. We asked, are you male? And it went to yes. Are you female? It went to no. So we knew that we were dealing with this one male spirit. We asked again the name. Could he give us a name? And if I remember rightly, and Ben, you may be able to correct me, it spelt out Bill. B-I-L-L. And again, the year of death was in the 1940s. And we asked him, had he been present in other areas of the bunker while we'd been walking round? And at this point, it went to yes. So we knew that this guy had actually been following us round. And we have at times felt as though we have been followed and we have been watched. I have seen a smoky figure walking down a corridor and then in towards the bomb room. And when you've entered that room, there's nothing there at all. But it's definitely been the figure of a man. We asked Bill, will we get to see you tonight? And Bill said, yes. Through the Ouija it went to yes. And we asked where, hoping that it would spell something out. And if I remember rightly, Bill spelt out, you will see me later. So we left it at that, and we decided to go topside to have a break, have a coffee and have a cigarette out in the fresh air. We decided to go back down into the bunker then, and we went down onto the top floor and we entered what was the Brigadier's office, or the base commander's office. And we both looked and we noticed that it was midnight. And as soon as we looked at the clock, there was the sound of a Westminster chime. The old ding dong, ding dong. That kind of chime, followed by 12 dong, dong of the bell. We looked around the room. There was nothing at all within the room that could have made that noise. There was a digital clock on the wall, but it certainly didn't have an alarm with it. So at this point we were quite intrigued, because we'd not heard it before. And we all wondered where on earth it was coming from, and we were sort of, when James comes back at 4 o'clock, we'll ask him, he'll have the answer. As we came out of that particular room, we got quite a shock because running past us was a cat. And I'd heard that there was a cat kind of lived within the bunker, but I'd never seen it before. And now there it was running past us up the corridor. And believe me, when you're in such a big place and you're on a ghost hunt, the slightest thing gives you a surprise, shall we say. Anyway, we walked further on and we went to the areas now which the public aren't allowed into, but part of it had been opened up and there was like a perspex screen and you could see through the torchlight that there were another vast area beyond. And it's just a shame that we never got to look in there, because it is an area that we would have liked to have been in. Anyway, time was going on. We collected some of our equipment together. We left an EVP recorder in the dormitory where the base personnel would have slept. And we did pick up sounds on that, which we assumed were, again, water pipes banging, but they did also seem to be distinct yet muffled voices coming from somewhere within the room, not unlike the voice which I at first heard in there when I was in there alone. So we went back up onto the upper floor and we checked another camera that we had up there and saw that the tape had run out. We needed to put a new tape in, which we did, and it was shortly before 3 o'clock in the morning and we returned to the Brigadier's office. And once again, bang on 3, according to the digital clock, the Westminster chime went, and 3, ding, ding, ding. Again, we looked everywhere in that room and we couldn't find anything anywhere where that noise could have come from. So we did a little bit more work in there, a bit more with the pendulum, a few yes or no questions. We decided to have a wander out for the last time, collect all our equipment together, make sure that anything that we had moved was put back in the correct place. It was as tidy when we left as when we found it. We were walking back up the long corridor, up towards the steps and into the, as I described before, which just looks like a bungalow on the surface of the ground. And in there again we did hear, I believe we heard footsteps, but they were behind us, and it was kind of a sound of breathing as well, and it wasn't either Ben nor myself. We went back up and James arrived at 4 o'clock as promised. We gave him a rundown of the things we'd done, what we'd seen, and if we'd picked anything up on the cameras which we'd left running, we would email the evidence through to him. And we asked him about this, what can only be described as a grandfather clock with the Westminster chime. And James looked quite puzzled at that point. And he said that no other group that has ever been here has ever mentioned that clock. I said, well, Ben will concur that we actually heard it twice. It struck midnight and it struck 3 AM. And James said that he had been there for 40 years, and in his 40-year period of being there had never been such a clock within the walls of the bunker. So that one remains a mystery. Something else paranormal again. But it was such a clear sound, as Ben would confirm. Anyhow, we called it a night, got back into Ben's car, and we set off back to our respective homes. And it had been a great way to enjoy Ben's birthday, and it was a great place to investigate, as I say, except for when you're investigating with two mediums. Shortly afterwards we thanked James Fox by email, and it was there that James told us that unfortunately the bunker was now being shut to paranormal investigation because a group, and I don't know who they were called, but I know they were from the Derbyshire area, had been over there, and they created quite a lot of damage. They'd taken a group of the public with them, and they'd put on a show which basically terrified a lot of people. And as Ben and I would tell you, there's nothing to be frightened of in that bunker whatsoever. And not only had they done that, but they had also, be it the team or the guests, had actually stolen some of the museum properties. So they should hang their heads in shame, as they've ruined it for so many people. But I'd like to take this chance now and this opportunity to thank everyone who came on those investigations with me, with Spiritual Renaissance, and I hope that you all enjoyed them as much as I did. As I say, there was just one of them that was mad, but beyond that, I would also like to thank James Fox and RAF Holmpton for being such gracious guests, and I hope to return someday, even if it's only to look around the museum. The next one I upload is going to be The Mill, which is a pub in Holderness near Hull, and this was the penultimate investigation with Spiritual Renaissance. So I thank you once again. Gordon here thanks you. Namaste. Look after yourselves and take care.